starting with the key question is that, uh, you know, how common when we send for these panels, in NGS, uh, it depends upon what panel you do, but panels do contain some of those mutations which can be germline. How commonly we see in the practice, and how do you go about it, in this situation? Maybe we can start, Dr. Mangesh. And here the case was EGFR mutation positive, and that was T790M. And we learned hard way that this can also be a germline mutation. But Dr. Mangesh, how commonly in your practice see germline mutations when you do NGS panel, and how do you go about it?
Thank you for the question. So first of all, I consider this to be some sort of a divine providence that I am involved in this exact panel, because just 2 months back, I had the opportunity of seeing a patient, 58-year-old lung cancer patient, who had a brother who himself had lung cancer as well, and another brother who had oral cancer. So the patient's son happens to be in US, and he was unable to come down because of the pandemic. And he kind of requested me that, is there any, why is this that lung cancer are happening commonly in our family? So till now, I must confess that I've never really looked at lung cancer to be, to be investigated on the germline basis. But because of the patient's son's insistence, I actually got a NGS done, and they were willing to afford for the best. And in that, I found TP53 mutation, gene mutation that was seen. And if you look at the other, and the patient, the index patient that I'm treating now, had no habits at all. He had no habits which would, or no occupational exposure as well. So this was my first instance of actually doing germline testing for a patient with lung cancer, to try and see if there is any genes that probably could then be transmitted or inherited to his progenies.
Mangesh, you have to unmute.
I'm unmuted, sir. Just now I muted. Was I not audible?
In last line we missed from you.
Yeah. So like I said, I got a germline testing done for this patient. Right. So basically, there was a sample of the normal tissue, so the saliva and and even blood sample was even given by this patient. So I found that this patient had TP53 gene mutation, and this was termed by the reporting molecular pathologist to be actually a germline mutation. So interesting. I have other details, but I don't know whether they are important in this panel.
Sure, you can share it later, Mangesh, as a part of panel. Dr. Bharat, in your practice, germline, when you do NGS, do you worry about germline, and how commonly do you see?
So when we send for a broader NGS panel, yes, we do get, but it is very rare as compared to breast and ovary. The germline mutations which we see, BRCA1, BRCA2, are very rare, and especially the mutation kind of mutation we get, they are not pathogenic. And it is not very well established in lung cancer like breast and ovary cancer or pancreatic cancer or prostate cancer. What I had experienced is T53, but no, it is better to confirm it as a germline or whether it's just a somatic mutation. So rather than jumping and concluding it's a germline mutation, I would rather take the history, family history, and make sure that it's a germline mutation. The most common mutation, which somatic mutation I do get, is T53, which could be a germline, but I have never tested retrospectively.
Thank you, Dr. Bharat. Sir, in your practice, sir, and because this is slowly, once we pick up once, it always bothers us. Okay, are we missing it? Are we following all the procedures? And that's germline, and that can be in any tumor. Dr. Hemant Malhotra, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize, Kumar, that you were asking me the question. So I think
yes, sir. Yes.
This is a situation in lung. Germline mutations are far less studied and possibly far less important than in more established diseases like breast cancer and ovarian cancer. And it has been found that genetic susceptibility to lung cancer is positive in about only 4 to 5% of patients. And if you do a germline mutation in these patients, you're likely to throw up either a BRCA2 or a CHEK2 or an ATM gene mutation, sometimes an NTA-RK1 EXT2 and PALB2 breast cancer-like mutation. And as a routine, unless there is a very strong family history like the patient which Dr. Mangesh was saying, and if there is no issue of economics, then you would like to get a germline testing done. And even if that does throw up a mutation, say for example a BRCA2 mutation, which is the commonest, then you would not know what to do with the patient or with the patient's relatives. So lots of gray areas in lung cancer with germline mutations. That's what my understanding is as of today.
So again, I'll repeat, I learned as a part of molecular tumor board that yes or not, it was rightly commented, but not all P53 is a germline mutation. It is good to see what is the variant frequency and where it is. So if the variant frequency is around 11%, unlikely to be germline. For germline, it will be either heterozygous or homozygous. It means what? If the number will be 50% or 100%, near about. If it is beyond that, unlikely that is germline. And that is where this discussion came up in our molecular tumor board. T790 was around 56%. And this discussion came up, can it be germline? And then at the same time, when we try to research about lung cancer, yes, T790M can be germline. And this is one example. Once we do more, we realize that yes, we do have some. I totally agree. It is not as common as what we see in the breast cancer or ovarian cancer, but you do see some germline mutation in lung cancer patients, because there are 7 to 8% patients in lung cancer which is familial. Then when I'm not saying they're hereditary, they're familial, meaning that some of them will be hereditary there, which slowly we are picking up now, because past we were obsessed with smoking, and we should be obsessed. Because of more work now, we are realizing that in non-smokers, you can get some of them which we need to keep our eyes open.
Kumar, 1 second. The report which you are showing, this was done on the patient's tumor, or this was done on the patient's blood / saliva?
Absolutely right question, sir. It was done on the tissue, where you get a hint, sir. Once you get a hint that if it is around 50%, then one needs to reconfirm with doing in the blood, sir. So you're absolutely right. So germline, when we do the tissue, if it is around 50% or 100%, by and large, you know it is right. You are dealing with a germline. But to say it is good to do in the blood, that is a Buffy report to confirm that yes, it is a germline mutation. So when I said this, it gives you a hint that yes, we are dealing with germline.
Find okay, you do the germline testing in this patient and you find the TP53 there also, then what do you do? Does that change your management in the patient? Do you test his relatives, male relatives, female relatives? Do we have any clarity on that?
So we did have, sir, not this patient. This patient didn't turn out to be germline. I was using example, but we had a patient with HER2 mutation, 660D mutation, and it was there in the 3 family members, because 3 family members, they all had lung cancer. So we knew that it is running in the family. Then they did in the asymptomatic patients, sir, because they were very keen. They said, hey, we want to do anything required. That patient was in the follow-up in CMC Vellore. I won't put more details because of I can't. And you did CT scan there subsequently. There was nothing, so they kept in follow-up. So they put the screening protocol for them, sir, and they did pick up a small nodule after a year in that patient. Now, do I know this is the only way to do it? No. What I definitely understood while handling that case was, if you have that uncommon situation that you do have lung cancer running in the family, then there is a chance that you can pick them early if you put some screening protocol. And that screening protocol, I'm not saying that the lung cancer screening protocol what you have.
So that benefit you can offer the family members, and you can put them on low dose chest CT every year.
Yes. Yes.
With or without smoking, and whatever the age.
With or without smoking, sir. In fact, just now there was it was Taiwan or Chinese data, which they also had that in non-smoker also. There's some data that low dose scan may help in reduce mortality. But I'm not saying that we need to do it. But I'm saying if you have those uncommon, and now if you ask me how many you have seen it, till now maybe 3 family members familial I have seen it. But how many was willing to test? How many wanted to be tested? And how many I got positive? Till now, there are 3 family which I had this, and in which they were very keen. They wanted to do anything in the world, and that is where the data I shared with you, sir. So it is no doubt it is very uncommon. But remember that unless we know that when we can suspect in the tissue mutation data, we may miss it, and that was the idea of discussing that. If in tissue mutation data you're getting a hint that there is a chance that it can be familial, think about it. So this was regarding germline testing in this patient. Just one question we wanted to ask: anyone had T790M upfront detected, and how did they manage it? Maybe we can start from Bharat.
Sir,
Bharat, any T790 upfront you have in your practice?
No, sir. So far, no. Not.
Mangesh?
Yes, sir. I had one, I think 2018 or something. I had one of that, 2018 or something like that. But I wish I realized that probably I should have tested this patient for a germline.
No, but treatment, what did you do? I was in.
Sir, I had recommended. I mean,
I was looking for.
I had to. That patient could not afford osimertinib. I had to treat the patient with this thing, Geftinib, upfront. But we know that it doesn't work. And then I treated the patient with chemotherapy, and then after that I lost the patient to follow.
Okay, no issue. So this is one area which we keep struggling.
Kumar,
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I remember a patient like this about 3 or 4 years back when I was in the government sector. This was a CGHS beneficiary, and one of my colleagues in the private sector had advised this patient osimertinib to start with. And I had formally made a government report and sent that report to the government that our personal feeling is that a very expensive treatment upfront should not be given, and he should be given a first generation TKI, and once there is progression, then a third generation TKI should be considered. So I remember that very, very distinctly, and with these new things coming up now, I kind of I'm reminded again and again that with existing knowledge and confirmation of that knowledge, how our thinking changes.
So I agree. I also couldn't get some good, decent data to share that if you have upfront T790M, and I'm not saying only germline part, that was the other story. How do we treat them? Here it was combined, so it was easy for us. We could give TKI to this patient. But if it's only T790M, can we give osimertinib upfront, and hope that in future we'll have some more data to it. With this, any other last comment by any panelist on T790M and germline mutation in lung cancer?
Sir, there are other mutations also known, such as BRCA mutations, apparently, which are running through families. BRCA2 mutation. I happen to come across literature on that. Has anybody found BRCA mutation as a germline mutation?
Anyone? I'll tell you why people are missing that. I'll give you a reason. But anyone can share if they have found.
No.
There has been a large publication in the JCO. When I was put on this particular panel, I had to perforce do some reading. And they found that BRCA2 mutation is the commonest mutation in patients who have genetic lung cancer.
Okay.
Other common mutations are CHEK2 mutations and ATM mutations. These 3 are the commonest which they found, and this happens in a maximum of 4 to 5% of patients.
So Mangesh, what happens to all the panel we do in that in lung panel, BRCA is not usually part of it, and that's the reason in that lung panel what we do the mutation testing. it is not so common, and again, it is not part of the panel, so in all probability we miss it.
So Kumar, the lung panel which we use, this is for somatic mutation. We don't have a lung panel for genetic mutations in lung cancer. Is that right?
I agree with you, sir, but I'm saying if it was part of the panel, because BRCA is a big gene, so usually they don't put in a part of 20, 30, 40 gene panel, then we can at least get a hint of it that some of my patients are having germline. And that part we are missing, because usually in lung panel, they don't put BRCA as a part of it. For somatic panel also, sir. Usually, if you see the panel 20, 30, 40 gene panel, BRCA will usually not be part of it, because that's a big gene with multiple mutations. So that will take out a whole lot of the space of doing the sequencing data. So that's the reason they will usually do it separately, or as a part of germline panel with 8, 10 of them, what is there. Any other comment by any other panelists? If none, then maybe if there's any question, Dr. Kashish?
Sir, just 1 minute, sir. So we don't have any questions.
We don't have a questions, then that is fine. That is nice. So with this, I thank all the panelists for a wonderful discussion, and we have completed on time.